Hi everyone, you all right? Hear me okay? As I said, I've got a few probably going to jump on here at 10 o'clock exactly. So what I'll do is, hiya, I'll give them a wee few minutes to go on. Just give me a couple of minutes, we'll start this off. Okay, thanks.
Oh God.
Okay, as I said, probably get some people going to join in as we go along. Hope you can all, assume you all hear me okay. So what I was going to say is, I've got quite a few people coming on this today. What I'll do is, I've muted you all at the moment. What I'll do is I'll run through a quick run through of sort of what we're going to discuss here, and then open up for any conversation, any questions you've got specific that you want me to go over. I've got Fireflies recording, so that's good. So anybody else who wants an update can just give me a shout after the end. We'll go through it. So basically, those of you that have been on these before probably know the script for these, but those that maybe join us, obviously, my Scottish clubs maybe noticed I've now got Ireland under my remit as well at the moment. Just to give me a little bit more, but just to explain though that the idea is behind these is to try and do these on a sort of regular basis every couple of weeks. They should only be like 20-minute, half an hour, informal basic reviews of some parts of the Club V1 system. Obviously, Club V1 system, quite a big system now. So as I said, it's I think it's quite a big system over everything. I'll be doing these all the time. So hopefully another one in a couple of weeks' time. I'll do something else. But anybody who wants something to cover something, just let me know and I'll get it done. So let's excuse me, coffee, fine back. So just can everyone see the screen okay with the Club V1 competition charging? Okay. Yep. So let's kick off. So obviously the first thing with the competition charging in Club V1, something that's always been there in Club V1, has always been there for clubs to use, and basically it's an option for clubs to wish to set it up. Just to let you know, you don't have to be in a higher level of Club V1 to use it. You can use it in a level. You don't have to have the EPOS till system to use it. You can use it as well. So as I said, it can be used for a lot of different clubs for what they wish to use it for. Okay. Yep. I'll just start kicking off. Probably the main thing just to go over quickly is when you're enabling this and using this in Club V1. Now, in Club V1, basically, we have a couple of ways that you can take your competition charges off. So if you don't have an EPOS system or a till system, it works on the basis that the member has what you call a competition purse. Basically, this competition purse just holds their competition money, basically, and from that money, any competition charges are deducted from. Okay, it's a little bit more complex, not complex. I'd say that's the wrong word for it. A little bit more labour intensive if it's used, but the competition purse, a little bit more admin side of it, but it still works totally fine. If you have the EPOS system, or till system linked, obviously those of you that have the EPOS system will know that we have basically what they call purses, and members have cards that they use for the till, for the drink bar, etc. And maybe you know or don't know, but you can have 3 separate balances on that card. A lot of clubs will just keep the one purse and charge everything off that one purse, but it's just to let you know that you do have the option of having a separate purse if you want, for example, just for competitions. So some clubs quite like to just keep all their competition money, etc., kept on a separate purse. Unfortunately, with that, not unfortunately that you can't really do that to separate bank accounts. It has been asked by some clubs, so just mention it through. But it does mean though you can keep all your competition monies, fees, etc., totally reported totally separately. And also in the settings, you've got deciding on yourself what overdraft options you want to do. We're not all big fans of, well, most clubs wouldn't give an overdraft, but it's just to say that there is some settings in there, and I'll show a little bit through, where you can control if you want to overdraft or not. Just before I go into setting overdraft, what I'd probably recommend to clubs sometimes is if they're bringing competition charging in for the first time, obviously it's a lot about education to members, saying that they can't ask Tom next to them for £1 to pay their entry fee for that competition. They have to have money on the purse or whatever purse that's got used for it. So basically they have to be in credit and have money on that purse. Obviously that might bit of education there on it. So some clubs will basically allow, maybe when they first introduce this, excuse me, a small overdraft. My recommendation is either a week or maximum 2 weeks, your sort of standard entry fee. And that allows you to identify any members who go in, haven't topped up their balance, don't win their card. They can still enter the competition, but they're going to negative. And then probably good admin point is you can have a look at that by their balances after that first week you've introduced it. Maybe look at anybody who's overdraft and maybe give them a little sort of email or whatever, or just say they need any help to understand how the system works. Just a nice thing to do. So as I said, if I go into the setting of Club V1, so basically in your Club V1, this is where I was saying basically you've got your EPOS settings here. Now basically this is where what I mentioned a minute ago about setting, if I've got an EPOS system, I can set which purse I can get the money, the competitions come off. So I set to come off Clubhouse, comps, or I've got a flex member, which is a different issue through. If you don't have an EPOS system, you just don't get this choice. Everything just comes off a competition purse, basically. So you don't have the choice to separate different purses. It just comes off the competition purse, but you don't have to have that setting. In here as well, basically, when you're setting the system up and you want to use competition charging, set it up. If I go into my PSI settings, excuse me, I've come from it. My Sky broadband is atrocious here. It's not Club V1, I'll be honest. It's my Sky system that's atrocious. You get the PSI settings. I'll take them up. And then here is where you can set the overdraft. Now you can set the overdrafts. You'll see here basically, scroll down, you'll see I've got basically competition balance one. Now the issue here, this is quite a handy one to have on those of you that are still using PSI screens. Basically what this does, when you bring in competition charging, what this does is you can set that when I log into PSI to enter a competition, it will simply prompt me and say, John, do you know what? Your balance is below £5. We recommend you top up. And that's why, and I mentioned rolling back to overdraft, I normally say clubs have the overdraft facility just for a few weeks, but take it away. Don't have it permanently there. Because my attitude, to be honest, is if you're a member, and again, this could be set at 2 weeks competition entry. If he's having a warning for 2 weeks competitions, that he has to top up his competition, and it just says basically your competition account is low, please consider topping up. You can change that what you like. He's had a warning, he should be topping up, he should be going through. Do you know what I mean? So it's just a thing through, and that's why I would normally then have set basically that they prevent any overdrawn accounts on there. Okay, and again on the online how do I do settings, there's some more settings there, and again we can help you set up through these two. This is just settings on how do I do, again how the overdraft is set. Look at overdrafts, you'll see here basically the same thing, an overdraft limit if I want, for those that want to basically, so even if they want to do it through the app and do it online, it will still take the charges off and you're still in control over that as well. So it's just to say you've got those settings and we can help you set those up. So that's basically where, these are some basic stuff just to get set up on the system before you use the system, and just some decisions that you have to make. Okay. So next thing obviously is basically discussing the competition charges that you want to use. Now, basically in here you've got what you would class as mandatory charges, and this will be maybe your entry fee. It's always been quite an unusual thing that, to be honest, competition charging mandatory entry fees in Scotland, a lot of clubs in Scotland don't tend to charge entry fees. I cover down Newcastle way. All my Newcastle clubs always charge an entry fee for competitions. And I would say it's now becoming more and more clubs are now charging basically competition entry fees. I'm probably a good example of it, where I advise clubs to maybe bring in charging for entry fees is I don't play competitive golf. One of my clubs was saying to me that their engraving costs were something nearly $5,500 last year. If my fees were getting put up because to cover these engraving costs or competition fees, I would maybe as a member say, hang on, I'm not happy about this. They should be paying for their own. So that's just to say, club through. You've always got your optional, which is normally twos, sweeps, etc. And a little bit of charity donation. I'll show you how that works a little bit as well. And then you've got reports. So again, going back to Club V1. Basically in Club V1, this is basically where you add in the charges that you wish to use. And these charges are added in, and they're not on every competition, not still in Australia when I go to competition setup, how you choose what charges you want to add to competition. But basically, it's just whatever fees that I think I want to use. So you see here, I've got an example. A club asked me, they wanted to do a prize on a competition. You just depend that people can enter, and I'll show you how they get through. What this does mean, as I said, you've got your entry fees through. And again, these fees, just to explain, are added in, aren't set to be optional or mandatory at the moment. That's when you come to the competition part where you can decide what you want to do. And you also see here, it gives us a little summary of the fees, etc., what you've had in from it, different things through. But what you've also got is when you go to the report section in your reports, and just remember where this part is, golf. So we have a little coffee while this loads up. You've got a competition charges audit, and in here basically you can then pull a report. I'll go back and see I don't know how much I've got in mine. Obviously filter it by you want, download it to Excel if you want. It basically allows you just to pull off a report whenever you want of what the competition fees have been taken over the last month or whatever. So you get a report on that. Would be handy if you could filter by competition, but there's far too many. Some clubs have too many competitions. So what my clubs that tend to do that would maybe dump this report into Excel and then group it together with the description. So they can then say what was the test comp, what was fees, refunds, whatever in there. So it's just to say it's all reportable on the charges. Yep. So basically those charges are all set up. And again, this is all prep stuff before you maybe start using the competition charges, how you're going through them. Okay. Okay, so let's move on to the best competition setup. And again, you need to decide what you want to charge mandatory, what you want option, and what you've got. I'll show you the comps report. Nothing much more than that, but if I click on the competition. So basically, I've just set up a competition here, just so I can edit it rather than start. But if I go to the competition charging, okay, competition I've set up, I just edit it. Okay, I go through the stages. You'll see if I go through all these stages, nothing more basic than charges. I'll just go through the stuff. I'll probably jump through to some bit. Okay, if you want your booking sets, all these are basic stuff. You're going to get handicap guys will go through as usual. Okay. Yeah, okay. Sorry, I just maybe skipped a little bit there. Competition, this part here, just so you can competition service charging, that's slightly different. Just in competition charges, that's some, I don't know if you know, but you can now add in charges for buggies, for competitions and things like that, and people have to pay them by debit card, credit card, etc. Members, it's a bit up in the air with this, but maybe another discussion, another call, but just to say that is slightly different. That's why I mentioned it before I skip by it. If I go on, let's go through. Basically, this is all saying, but now the way it comes to the bit is here, is when I get to the charging. And basically, I just say I want to enable competition charging for this charging. I want to enable, and I want to set the mandatory fee. Now again, there's all the competition charges that I'd set up from, and I can set which one of those I want to be the mandatory fee. Normally it's just the entry fee, and I select £1. This sort of option here, you set sign in or booking. Now, some clubs will set up for booking if they want to get the money off people entering a competition to ensure they turn up on the day of the competition. It's fine, you can do that at this point. It does, though, stop you can't do optional charges. You can only do the mandatory charge, so you'd have to charge your basically two sweeps together at booking entry. I tend to recommend clubs that sign in. The reason why is that unless you've got an issue with people booking into competitions and not turning up, it's better that people just basically pay the option when they sign up to play. It means you get involved in less refunds, they come up and they just sign in when they turn up to play, and it works far better for them rather than booking. They book competitions, they pay for things, you ask them for money back. So most clubs I tend to recommend the sign in. That's just my recommendation. You only got the option of the optional charge, and again, you just click and add your optional charge, and again you'll see you get the same list you've got, but you then select which optional charge you wish to put in. Yeah. When you add these charges, and you can add as many as you like into there. Basically, obviously you don't have to have loads of them in there. Try and keep it at 1 or 2. But basically it's the 2s. What then, and I'll show you when you get into this, what the member will see. He will then get asked, basically, does he want to pay this or not into 2s or sweep? And I just stick this little one in because I know I use that in a couple of my clubs. We have an optional charge. For example, we have a charity day. We might put that, if you want, you can donate £1 to the captain's charity today. And when you see how you can pull off the competition report, you can then say, right, okay, 50 members wanted to donate £1 to the charity today. So the club did an admin thing basically out of the competition money they've got to say basically they're going to give that to that charity. It does work well, actually, to be honest. And the clubs that do use it find it's quite a handy thing to raise some money things through. Basically, so when you continue that, so that's the only additional thing that's really added into when you set up your competition is that competition charges. So when they go through the whole thing, when they get to this charging option, they'll just put that stuff through. Okay, and as I said, get to the end. Okay, you see they'll get all the stuff through. So as I said, it's just stick through. So it's nothing more actually changed on that apart from adding the charges. On the competition side, what will be added in slightly as well is obviously when your handicap viewer normally or whoever pulls off the competition prints, they've got all the normal reports you've got just now, but you'll see a little thing called competition charges analysis report. So because I've got competition charges enabled, if I click on that, basically, there'll be none because I've got stuff on this view. It basically just gives me the charges that I've charged. Okay, so as I said, if there was charges in there, you would see that through. So it's basically giving you the money through. Excuse me, sorry. And you can decide what you want to work at winnings, etc. Okay. Okay, so that's as I took through. Now, one other wee thing just for a jump off the competition side as well is where you can use competition charges is obviously as well is in the club, is in club of is knockouts. You can, if you want, when you create your knockout, edit your knockout, you can use charging in here, and you can actually put your entry fee in for your knockout. So if somebody wants to enter the knockout, they can sign in, they can pay their entry fee. I know it's not available in the new app at the moment, but it's coming in. But you can, if you want, take the entry fee. It saves you having to chase up these people for the entry fees for knockouts. So it's a good way to get it through the business there. Okay. Basically, that's all set up in the competition. Nothing more complicated than that. You just set what you've got to do. Obviously, when you've got your competition set up, basically, it's how the members are going to use it. Okay. So basically, what the member will see, if I've got some of these closed, sorry, got some of these clubby ones down. Okay. See. Okay. So basically, what your member will see, those of you that have got a PSI, okay. PSI up, 100%. Okay. Basically, those when the member goes to your screen, if you're still using your PSI screen, simply what the member will see, he'll log in, put in his name as normal, okay. Sees the competition, it's just sign in, and basically you see there's the competition charging. He clicks today's competition. Yep, that's the one I want to continue. And this is where you'll see basically it says you will be charged £1 to enter this competition. Do you wish to enter the 2s? Yes. Do you wish to give £1 to charity? Yes. And if I continue to sign in, it deducts £3. Okay. Now I'm just going to cancel that PSI one. That's it on the screen. Now, on the app, if they want to do it on the app, okay. Now, this is the old app. Obviously, I'll show you the to say old app. But if I show you this one, this is just to say this is the web version of the current new app. Okay, and we're discussing the app through, but obviously I don't have, this isn't fully launched yet, but it's just to say this is going to be the web version of the app, but it's obviously, I can't really show you, I want to show you on my phone how this would appear. But basically, this will show enough, this will show us enough so I can show you instead. So you'll see this competition charging. So on the app, I go check in, basically check in, There's my entry fee. I wish to pay twos. I wish to pay captain's charity. And if I check in, basically, okay, comes up and says, do you wish to confirm? Yep. Confirm. Yep. Okay. That's where it goes through. So as I said, I've got that through. Okay. As I said, or as I said, yep. I tend to find that they do like on the PSI once my PS loads up. Yep. Just let my system through it. So I'll just put it. Yep. Yep. Okay. Okay. And I can still do it in the old app. I just want to show in the app so it was there. Okay. Now, obviously, that's what your members go in. The members simply do that. They choose what they want to through and go through. One wee thing, as I said, that's why, as I said, if they do pick that, it'll take £3 of account. If they don't have money in their account, it wouldn't let them into the competition. So that's why you back to my own bit mentioned overdraft. Just to let you know, the pro shop can still sign them in at that point if there's an issue, but you obviously don't want to encourage that. Okay. So let's look at the main part of that. Is obviously this is taking away. The main reason clubs will look at competition charging is taking away all the pound coins, all the wee brown envelopes that you give out with winnings on it, all that stuff through, and basically linking it to a member record and a member's account in Club V1. Okay. So basically, main thing you got is two options: is the charges will come off this thing through. How you're going to give these winnings back onto that, so you're not giving out again a lot of brown envelopes with £2.70 winnings or whatever, or manually worked out. You can, as I said, set. You can manually. They can top up accounts. I've got manually top up accounts, so just so I can explain. That's more to do with people through. So I just go into back into my Club V1 here a little bit. Sorry, like that. Yeah. Now let's look at my record. So if you look at my record here, okay, on Cardinal. Look at my EPOS. Okay. So what you'll see is a deduction of £3 today from my EPOS. Okay. Okay. Now look there. Say he says, so I've given £1 to Captain's Charity. I've gave my two. I'm entering the twos and basically a competition entry fee. So I've had £3 deducted, and you'll see I've got a competition balance that came off my competition balance. Yep. So that's where the member sees it. It comes off and they see me through. But what probably more interested the member is getting their winnings back. And basically, all I simply do is go to, if I'd won any money, go to top up and say John's won £10. Good code of practice is rather than leaving this as description is say second prize. Okay. Okay. And this is where, when you're doing this top up, this is where again it's a little bit of a thing. Maybe this is not so much those with just competition purse, but those of you that have the EPOS system, you have to give a little bit of think what you want to do with this winnings. So some clubs will put the winnings back onto the clubhouse purse. So basically encourage the members to spend it in the bar, basically on bar and food. Some clubs will put it back onto the competition purse. So therefore, the member can keep their winnings, and their winnings can be used for any future entry into any competitions. So some members quite like, they build up a little, or if I win this week, it covers me for next week. I don't have to pay in that. So that's where some clubs do it. Again, this is probably, if you've got any queries on that, you can contact me and we can discuss that a little bit further, how best you want to do that. And I know I've got this one called Flexi Member, because I'm using that for something else I was testing for a club, but some clubs will call that third purse, for example, Pro Shop. And what they might do is put all the winnings into a Pro Shop purse and basically restrict their members that they can only spend that in the Pro Shop. They have to use the money in the Pro Shop, any winnings from their competitions. What I would say is whatever purse you top this up to, if the member wants money out of that or wants to use it, a couple of different ways you can do it as well. But what I would say is mainly put a restriction on it. They can't make a request. If they win £2.60 on Saturday, they can't make a request to get their £2.60 out to buy a bag of crisps at the club bar. Most clubs would put a restriction. If I'd won a lot of money in the competitions and it was put onto that purse and I wanted to get that money out because there's nothing club to buy or I don't want to spend it in the bar, I'd put a limit that you can only request something like £30 or £50 a minimum request out of your winnings. And again, I'd say clubs, a good idea. Some clubs will do is if somebody does win a lot of competitions, you've got a member who wins a lot of money, rather than giving it back in cash, I know some clubs will actually, for example, transfer it and put it towards their subs. So rather than leaving the money out of the club. Again, totally different ways that you control it, but it's just to go through it. But if I put this into my competition top up, okay. Okay, you see there's my £10 onto my card, so it's on there basically. I've got my £10 and I can see I want, and that's why I'm saying about the second prize, it's description. Okay, also does mean if I go back to my card, okay, as a member, I've got a notification that that's put on and it'll process through. Okay, so it's important because so you see there's my £10 that was put into my thing through. So me as a member, I'm on the old app here just because I can't show the web full on that, but if I'm on the old app there, you see basically I got second prize, I got my £10 winnings. Okay, so it's just to say that's through. So it's handy way, and that's why it's good description. Okay. Now, basically what happens is that, if I go back to there, is what you can do is normally your handicap winner most clubs tend to give an Excel sheet with the winnings on it, and you will then maybe do the top up. Do that if you want, but just to let you know, you can, if you want, give your handicap winner, now you've got custom access levels in Club V1 where you've got your settings and you've got your users. You've got a lot of custom access levels down here where you can actually give your handicap winner a slightly higher access level where he can access the EPOS system. Again, this is EPOS system, where he can actually process the top ups for directly if you want. But you don't have to give him access, but you can if you want. But it's just most clubs tend to be honest at the office handle that, but just to say as an option to do it. Then all something that has to do is you are that, to be honest, normally as clubs, it's yourself. Would be like I did with myself. I found my record and did a top up and did it through. And I'll be honest, that's the way most clubs do it. But what you can do as well, just a little, if you want, you've got winnings. There is a little thing. I know I keep talking about with till systems, but there's a little thing called a batch EPOS transaction. And if I want, rather than going to pass everybody's record, I can put it was a Sinclair trophy. I don't really bother so much them out. I'm going to point to the culprits pass continue. And again, it's using the filters we have. Those of you, I don't know if you know, but there's a field called individuals. Spell individuals. And I can look for the winners, put them in like that, continue, apply that, apply, continue, and then just put in what each of these people are getting. Okay. That works fine if you want to do it that way. The only downside of that I would say is you can't put like second prize, third prize. It's just basically winnings from Saturday Meadow or something through. So it's up to you. As I said, most clubs tend to do it from the system through. Okay. So as I said, that's how the winnings go on, etc. Goes through it. Okay. Obviously, moving on to the next step is I missed a step there. Sorry, is just roll back one step. Sorry. Just before I leave the members competition thing, there's obviously the thing about the members competition balances is, and let's talk about if you don't have the EPOS system, is you obviously have to get members to get money on their cards. So those members won't have the facility to do a top up online. So basically, clubs that do that system, again, those clubs are saying just give me a bell and we can go over how to do that. It's not an issue to do it, but basically, normally you have to do arrange some way that if you want to bring this in, that you want to get an initial balance into these members' cards, so they want to have on their competition balance. So yep, you could if you've not got fully the app or things through, they would not the app. You'd have to come some way that you have to allow them to top up if they're not using the app. Obviously, if they're using the app, basically, I'll go to the new app just to say, okay, the club. Okay, I'm actually doing. Okay, they can do their competitions as they've got just now, and basically what the members can then do is top up their card. Now, obviously, we do need Clear Accept to be linked to your system for it to process the card payments, because we don't process the card actual payments. Clear Accept do that, but this is beneficial to have with competition charging, to have the Clear Accept set up, because it means then if the member turns up on the day or the member at night or the night before he comes, realises he's short, he can top up and just click and say, right, I need to top up my competition and put £10. If a club asked me, could I remove £1,000 the other day, because no way any of their members are going to put £1,000 on, they asked me to remove it, so I've fed that back. But yeah, put my £10 on, whatever, and top up. Okay. I can also, with competition charging, a handy thing that members like is use auto top up, where they can do auto top ups. Okay, and I can add your auto top up and say basically that's very good for competition charging, where I can say if my balance goes to £20, stick on another £40. Okay. If I want to do it. Okay. Save that. So that works absolutely brilliant for this route. What I